In an age of games as a service, we all lament endings in games. An ending is a means to taste the sweet success of winning. But what about when they suck? Because they do sometimes. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on GameRanks, 10 of the dumbest endings in video game history. Starting off with number 10, The Dark Pictures Little Hope. The Dark Pictures anthology games usually pretty fun for what they are, but easily the worst of the parts released so far is Little Hope, the second game in the anthology. Rather than the usual schlocky horror elements seen in Supermassive's other games, Little Hope attempts to go psychological horror, and it just falls flat on its face, like a dead fish landing on wet cement. Everyone who played this one just knew there was going to be some kind of dumb twist coming. But even if you guessed what the twist would be, I don't think you could have predicted how dumb it was actually going to get. I mean, right from the start, you know something's up. There's a house fire in the prologue. It jumps forward to the main game, which is about wandering around some boring streets with the occasional obvious monster attack. Right from the start, they're going for Silent Hill stuff. I mean, hard reference here with the bus driver crashing after avoiding a mysterious girl on the road. It's right out of the first Silent Hill. So there's going to be a twist, obviously some big reveal. Want to know what it is? Are you ready for it? All the people in the bus are just figments of the bus driver's imagination. None of the folks going up and down as the wheels went round and round were real. Nothing that happened was real. It was all in his head. Yeah, it's kind of dumb, but it's also a pretty standard Silent Hill twist. Now, if they just kept it kind of vague, it might have worked as maybe kind of lame at the core, but acceptable Silent Hill style twist. But instead they had to double down and show this goober wandering around like an idiot. What I don't get is all these other people in the town react to this guy who's clearly having some kind of psychotic breakdown, talking to all these people that aren't there. They just react to him, well, I guess this is pretty normal. Like, not one of them thought, I don't know, maybe I'm gonna call an ambulance because I think that guy might be suffering some kind of like severe head injury.
Can everyone just shut up? This isn't helping us find help or getting us out of here.
I mean, it's bad enough that basically nothing that happened as part of the story actually mattered, and the main guy's just a random dude, but the thing that really makes it dumb is how hard they try to justify it. Like, they're trying to prove that it makes sense, and it's like, did they get all the way through game development, play it, and go, you know what? This isn't good. We gotta find some way out of this. At number 9 is Wet, the embarrassingly bad ending. Saints Row 3 is one of those games that puts some effort into its dumbness, but Wet manages to be extremely dumb while putting in as little effort as possible. This interestingly weird Bethesda experiment, it was obviously a low-budget game, but it's hard to even call what happens at the end of this game an ending, because it kind of just ends. So you get to the end of the mission, and it feels like it'd be like the 3/4 mark in any normal game, and it looks like it's time for a boss fight against this pretty embarrassing-looking vampire woman. I guess. This is the final boss, and it is a QTE. And also, you know what? What the hell is this boss? There's so much of them fighting with guns, like they're not holding guns. The vampire lady's guns have swords on them. And for a while you're fighting her with a sword, and then you take out some guns, and you go, like, slap fight each other with the guns. It's the weirdest thing. Listen, this particular era of games is filled with terrible, unsatisfying endings that land on QTEs, but this one is especially bad. Not just because of how awkward and stilted the actual fight animations are, but also because of the dialogue. Like, the bad guy says, "You're like a turd in a punch bowl."
You're like a turd in a punch bowl, Ruby.
Which honestly, in like a better context, would be awesome, but the context makes it the lamest thing you've ever heard. So you kill that goon, which was obviously supposed to be a mid-game boss, and then you just unceremoniously kill off the bad guy. The bad guy. Like, the bad guy's there, and with like a button, you kill him. There is no way to describe how out of nowhere this ending is. It does not feel even close to being done. But that's it. And then after that, they have the gall to sneak in a sequel hook where the goon from before moves a finger before cutting to the credits. Oh no, not whoever that guy was. What an unexpected twist that will undoubtedly be so wild and crazy when it gets followed up on. It did not get followed up on. At number 8 is Yakuza 4's "We Gotta Wrap This Up Somehow" ending. The Yakuza series tends to get completely absurd in the lead up to the climax, but things never feel quite as dumb as they do in Yakuza 4. Usually there's some kind of sense to how things conclude. When the story ends, it usually at least feels like everything has been leading up to that point in some way, but not Yakuza 4. It was ambitious, yes. It's got 4 protagonists, each with their own stories and villains. By the final chapter, very little feels like it's been concluded, but you just know things are gonna get interesting when the 4 leads finally team up. Their enemies are seemingly insurmountable. I mean, the main antagonist is a deputy chief of police, and as far as Yakuza antagonists go, that's about as untouchable as you can get. So, get this. They hatched this brilliant scheme to draw out all of their... Actually, no. They actually put a big pile of money on top of a tower and then wait to see what happens. That's literally the climax of the game. The good guys leave a big pile of money out in the open, and then the bad guys show up to try to steal it. It is the principle behind all pest control. Put the cheese in the mousetrap. It's so blunt and basic that it's honestly kind of hilarious. The developers just had no idea how to wrap up this ridiculously convoluted story and just was like, you know what? Everybody just fights because money. Which, I mean, not unrealistic. But it's especially hilarious because Kiryu doesn't really have anybody to fight, so they just make Dojima, the Failson head of the top Tojo clan, show up for fairly flimsy reasons. Although, again, money. But probably the most shocking thing is that this ending is like the second or third dumbest thing in the game. Not the first. At number 7 is Far Cry New Dawn's Battle for the Magic Apples. One could easily put some of the Far Cry series entries on this list, but other endings I have in mind aren't dumb, just more like bizarre and mean-spirited, at least. Not in the way I would call Far Cry 5 standalone expansion / sequel New Dawn's ending dumb. It's dumb. I mean, extremely dumb. So the game's set in the post-apocalypse, sure. It's meant to give players some kind of closure to the story of the first game, where the bad guy, Joseph Seed, was shown to be right the entire time and survived the story. Any writer with 2 brain cells to rub together could make that premise and run with it, but instead the game takes a sharp left turn into literal magic. For some reason, an insane, wild reason that I do not completely understand, Joseph Seed is now the guardian of a magic tree that gives the worthy superpowers if they eat a sacred apple. Yes, seriously, true. This is part of the game, for real.
You will have what you denied me. You gave it to an outsider, but you wouldn't give it to me! I am your flesh and blood.
That was God's will.
You don't know God's will!
I was trying to protect you, son!
Yeah, I know. The game tries to explain it by saying the bliss drug seeped into the ground after the bombs fell or whatever, but I'm sorry, they have to do better than that. These apples give people literal superpowers, like they're actually magic. That's a plot point here. Joseph Seed isn't even really a bad guy, even though he was shown to be cartoonishly evil in Far Cry 5 and never got any comeuppance for that. He's basically a good guy in this one, and the bad guy in this one is his son, discount Kylo Ren. So his son turns into a Sasquatch. Yeah, no, I'm not joking. The spawn of Joseph eats one of these apples and turns into a black Bigfoot with glowing eyes, and he's the final boss. It's too much for Joseph Seed, who now, I guess, doesn't have the capacity for weirdness anymore, and he wants you to kill him in one of the most unsatisfying, belated villain deaths of all time. Who in their right mind reads the script to this and is like, okay, put the might of Ubisoft behind this? Like, it sounds like the rambling of a 5-year-old. It's total nonsense. At number 6 is Saints Row 3 Gangstas in Space, meant to be dumb. Saying that right off so you don't come at me and say, but it's Saints Row, it's supposed to be stupid. I know. I feel like they took the assignment a little too far here, though. At the end of Saints Row 3, you're given a choice. You either save Shaundi or go after Killbane, the last remaining gang leader in the city. Depending on your choice, you get a different final mission. If you go after Killbane, the Saints get branded as terrorists, and Stag brings the big guns. Where if you save Shaundi, it seems like the good guy option. You get this mission, Gangstas space. Zero logic. It's all thrown out the window, the whole logic thing. You do end up taking out Killbane for good-ish. So it fast forwards some time, and you're on Mars, and Killbane is now General Killbane on Mars. There's sci-fi music, there's ray guns, there's characters dying melodramatic but perfunctory deaths. The whole thing is beyond surreal. Why is this happening?
Do you really think your ragtag band of misfits could stop me? I'm still breathing. Or did you forget that? You can't kill me. You don't know the truth. The fact is, I am your father.
Yes, clearly it is a joke. But if you take this route, a lot of the story remains unresolved. Like, what happened to Stag? Did they just go away? None of it even matters, though, because the game just lampshades the hell out of the climax, making fun of the boss fight and delivering a monologue that's word for word out of Red Faction Guerrilla. Remember, Saints Row and Red Faction are in the same universe. I don't know if they still are, because different companies own it both now, but yeah. But then the camera zooms back, and it reveals that this is the set of a movie, and Killbane is just buddy-buddy with you now. Either that, or the actor that plays Killbane is buddy-buddy with the actor that plays you. Like, this is all totally nuts. It's not just some random mission or some kind of post-game thing, though. It's the ending to the game. It's how they wrap it up. It's one of those things where, yeah, it's intentionally dumb, but that doesn't make it smart. And number 5 is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Basim's bonus journey. To actually tie the game into the quote-unquote story of the Assassin's Creed series, Ivor meets with a master assassin named Basim. Guy's kind of a boring stick in the mud, even compared to the cavalcade of boring, interchangeable Vikings and Saxons you deal with throughout the story. Frankly, most of it's forgettable, mostly because it's kind of goofy and weird. At the end, your main character travels to an ancient precursor temple, as you usually do in these games, but inside is this bizarre lotus machine thing. For whatever reason, the person that is attached to it keeps alive, but sends their mind into a dream world. I'd say this is going too far with the fantasy stuff in an Assassin's Creed game, but that ship is long sailed, and it's still out at sea. It still hasn't come back to port in the form of Skull and Bones. Brought it around. But the genie's out of the bottle in terms of crazy crap in Assassin's Creed. Yeah, Odin and the Norse pantheon, all real people. And actually, you know what? They're alien spacemen, okay? Sure, that's not even the dumb part of the ending. That's actually kind of decent. But when boring old Basim appears and reveals he's actually the secret mastermind of the game, that's when it starts to lose me. So Basim is actually the reincarnation of Loki. You know, Loki. And you're the reincarnation of Odin because, well, okay. And guess what? Loki wants revenge on you for stuff that I'm sure you immediately remember. So you beat him up and stick him on the Lotus Eater machine and call it a day. And then you fast forward to the present, because these things are always going to have a tacked on modern day story, and protagonist Layla finds Basim in some temple still stuck on that machine. And things start to get really ridiculous here. Basim tricks Layla, traps her in the machine, he escapes, so this master assassin, who's also Loki, is alive in modern times, wearing a 3 Wolf Moon t-shirt and acting obviously evil.
Bullshit.
In any case, there's nothing left to save. Not after this long.
Because of you. You left her there.
This is all a bit much. I know. I'm in the same situation.
The cliffhanger they leave this game on is that he's some kind of a new threat. And for everything that's good about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I just don't buy this. It's nonsense. It's not intriguing. I don't care what's going to happen next. I kind of just want this dope to go away. And number 4 is Doom Eternal, The Ancient Gods Part 2. They went heavy on the lore in Doom Eternal. It's kind of complex in the main game and becomes almost incoherent when you start getting into the DLC. It is bizarre. It is over the top. The game reveals that the Dark Lord, which is basically this game's version of the devil, is just you, the Doom guy. And at this point, all I can do is just shrug and accept it. Like, sure, yeah, the main guy is an unstoppable badass. Why the heck not?
He lied to you, Slayer. Amora and its people would have been perfect, if not for the treachery of my servants. They sealed me away, stole my power and name. And now, the time has come for a reckoning.
Some of this has got to be tongue-in-cheek. By the time you're at the end of the second DLC, you kind of got an AI that also happens to be the god of the universe with you. So I feel like they're taking a piss to some extent. Like, who can really say? What I can say is the actual ending of the DLC is ridiculously dumb. So get this, you kill the devil in one-on-one combat because, okay, the demons are vanquished from the earth, and then in the end, these maker guys seal you away in a tomb that looks exactly like the one you came out of in Doom 2016, like the start of the game. So does this make Doom Eternal a prequel? That can't be it, because parts of the story are clearly set after the events of the first game. So is this like a time loop or something? That can't be right, can it? You can't have a time loop where you get in a box and then get out of it in the past, where Doom Guy was in the past. I don't know. I guess the easiest explanation is they're putting him back in the same coffin from before, putting him back to sleep in case there's more demon outbreaks, but it's clearly implying that they're leaving him to be found in hell, so I just have no idea what's supposed to be happening. I'm not sure anybody does. I mean, it's Doom, so it's not like it matters that much. I think they just kind of confuse people like me on purpose. They know that there are a contingent of us out here who will just overthink the hell out of everything in their lives. Why not give us one more thing, right? At number 3 is Heavy Rain, the bizarre epilogues. There's so many dumb moments in Heavy Rain that it's pretty easy to overlook how strange and pointless some of the epilogue scenes are. Like, some of these things on their own might not seem all that goofy, but as the climax of the game, wow. Depending on your ending, you'll get a few different scenes of what the characters are up to after the events of the game. Like this scene with Madison signing a book she wrote about catching the origami killer. One fan has her sign his book, but says something sinister about how she needs a better adversary, then disappears.
What's your name?
Vincent. Excellent investigation, Miss Page. You are one brave lady. You deserve a better adversary. Somebody more ferocious.
Okay, kinda goofy. Don't know why they're introducing a new killer at the end, but I guess this could be one of those the adventure continues kind of endings. The Jaden endings, though, just dumb. For some reason, they really doubled down on his sci-fi virtual reality glasses that seem to be able to do things as the plot demands. In the game, they were just a way to create virtual crime scenes, but now they're dangerously addictive and can create entire virtual worlds for him to be in or something. By far the dumbest thing in all these is the ending with Jaden. He's hanging out in the metaverse, just taking it easy, when some little baby virtual tanks come out and menace him. So he takes off his glasses, but the virtual tanks are still there. Excuse me, what the hell is this supposed to be? Like, what is going on here? But that's it. No answer to that question. This is the end. Shine! And number 2 is Serious Sam 2, when the game just gives up and then rubs it in. Hard to call what Serious Sam 2 has as jokes. Exactly. There's a lot of words in it that appear like they're meant to be funny, but I don't know. Maybe some got lost in the translation, but this stuff is just mostly bizarre and not in a funny way. At the end of the game, you're finally set to take on the game's big bad, Mental. He's been built up for 3 games now, so we're finally gonna see him, right? Of course not. They just have Sam walk into a dark room, shoot a chair, and the loudspeaker is on it.
What the hell? Ah, crap. I knew it! I knew it! I'm gonna have to have a serious talk with Crow Team one of these days.
It spends the whole ending complaining about how the developers made it seem like you're gonna fight Mental, and then nothing happens. It's incredibly meta, but in that dumb, annoying, it's so meta way, rather than some kind of clever way. The game is accurately pointing out the player's disappointment and annoyance that it's ending without a boss battle, the expected boss battle, the boss battle they built up to for 3 freaking games. Also, it's called Serious Sam 2, but it is the 3rd game that they built this up to in. What one might call Serious Sam 1 is actually 2 games, Serious Sam the First Encounter and Serious Sam the Second Encounter, canonically released as quote-unquote episodes, but released a year apart. They're 2 games. And they spent that whole time and this game building up to Mental, and then they don't have it at all. And just them commenting on the fact that it's disappointing doesn't really justify it. Now let's say this is what happened. The exact same thing as what happens in the game for real. And then after the credits, the final boss actually does appear. That wouldn't have been dumb. That actually been kind of brilliant. But no, it's just a bunch of characters saying they can't believe the devs wouldn't put the boss in. Thanks for playing. Like, they could have just said nothing. It would be disappointing, but it would be forgettable. But instead, they double down on the quote-unquote jokes and meta commentary of video games. Oh, you expected a boss, and then there's not one. Oh, wow. What a smart commentary you've made on video games. Video games have bosses, and people expected one in this video game, but instead, there isn't one. Oh my god. Wow. Shit, dog, you should put your resume in for Monty Python. And finally, at number 1, D2 Shadow the Great Destroyer. The Dreamcast is home to some absolutely legendary dumb endings. Ill Bleed is an all-timer, but I am not sure we can put that into a video without getting content blocked, so we're going to talk about D2 instead. This is, without a doubt, one of the most absurd, baffling, pretentious, and idiotic endings I've ever seen in a game, and it has to be seen to be believed. For most of the game, D2 is this weird Resident Evil knockoff. Like, you know the drill. Evil virus turning people into monsters. Same old stuff. When you get to the end, though, things start to go from weird to totally unhinged. There's a supercomputer shaped like a pair of open legs that's also your mother, and then you climb a mountain, touch a flower, and face off against the true enemy of the game, a being called Shadow the Ultimate Destroyer, which apparently is the cosmic being that wiped out the dinosaurs and now wants a piece of humanity. I mean, he's got a motive. Apparently he wants to kill humanity for polluting the planet, but what do the dinosaurs do? Like, if you got a big justification for killing us, what was the justification for killing them? Did you just get tired of them or what? So this is a godlike being of nearly infinite power, so of course you could kill it by shooting it in the eye with your hunting rifle. Is that going to be tough? Not terribly tough. It just floats there doing nothing. And also, there's a wizard involved somehow. In any normal game, that would be peak insanity, but the ending feels like the ramblings of a madman. For some reason, we get like information delivered Metal Gear Solid ending style about random bad stuff about humanity, which cuts between ridiculous stock images of like an Egyptian battle and CGI dinosaurs. It's just minute after excruciating minute of this self-indulgent anti-human propaganda, which, I mean, you do realize it's humans buying your game, guys, right? And it doesn't stop. Nor does it come even close to making sense. I'm sorry, game. You can't cut real footage of wars and violence back and forth between CGI dinosaurs in a stupid game about plant viruses and cosmic eye childs. You can't do it. D2 thinks it's being really smart, but it's not smart. It's stupid. And that's being nice. It's so stupid. It's one of the dumbest endings of all time. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on Game Ranks.